Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and you are lucky enough to be here for Attorney Computer Systems November 2019 Tabs3 Virtual User Group meeting, where today we are talking about text macros. Mary Jo is going to take that topic, explain to us how we can save some typing time, and the pre-update statements report. I'm going to talk about that and why you should be using it and why it's as simple as it is. So, without any further ado, I'm going to see if I can press the right buttons here and get to, I've never done it where I'm showing it on this screen here. There we go. Get to get to tabs where Mary Jo can start telling us all we need to know about text macros. You there, Mary Jo?
I'm here. Are you doing okay over there?
I'm doing okay over here. I got all these things flashing.
Too funny. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to talk about text macros. And text macros can be used in any memo field, any memo box field that we have in Tabs. So the fee field, the cost field, the notes field, any of those things that you can actually just type in a box. So what text macros are little shortcuts. So you create, maybe a few letters and a punctuation mark. I usually tend to like to use the / because it's right there at your little finger when you're typing. It's just convenient. And what we do is we go ahead and we just type that little shortcut. I'm just going to ABC / and it types in whatever we've set for that value. Now, this can be something as simple as you type POS/ and it says postage, or it could be something as long as, like, maybe you type EST for a state / and it could have the whole description of what you do for a state. So it could be very elaborate or very simple. So we're going to go into the fee entry window here just to show you in fees how this can be helpful. So it's opening slowly, sorry. Coming. So any of these memo boxes, like I said, you can use these. Now you can use these in conjunction with transaction codes because we can select different transaction codes that start maybe our fee transaction or our description that we want to use, but then we want to continue on and have maybe a couple of macros that get popped in here. So maybe we had telephone conference with, and I could do CL / I could set one up that way that said client, and it could just always type in client. So to see what those are, what you can do is you can right-click in any memo box, and you can go over and select the Macro Lookup. It's right here on the drop-down list. And when you get into the Macro Lookup, it's going to show you all of the current macros that are defined. So you can see there's some little shortcuts in here, and then they've got what they want that to actually expand out for the text. And I'm just going to scroll down to show you there's several in here. Now, you might have some of these already set up that came with the program because there is some starter data that comes with the program. Or you may have had these developed over time, nobody was using them, or there's all kinds of things that might already be in here. So there is a text macro report you can print. If you just go to your search actions and type text macro, you can find a report that you can print out and see what currently exists in the software, and then decide if that's what you want or if you want to expand it further. The other thing that you can do is you can see in here, we've got several IDs in this test data that don't have like a / or a punctuation mark of some sort. And I would highly recommend not setting up macro IDs without some kind of a punctuation or something after it to distinguish that it is an actual macro. For instance, if I just typed MED and hit my space bar or enter, it would expand it to medical records. What if I did really want it to say med for whatever reason? I have lost that capability unless I actually turn off my macros, and that turns them off globally, so I couldn't use them anywhere. And I'd have to turn them on and off every time I didn't want to type the word med and so on. So it can get cumbersome. So I really recommend if you're going to set up macros, you use that / or period or whatever it is. I don't know, maybe not a period, it wouldn't be a good idea, but use something that is going to give you that distinction between a word that you might want to use. Never set something up with like of or and or something like that, because that, again, without a punctuation, wouldn't let you type that particular word. The other thing I will caution you about is to be careful not to set up a macro ID with nothing in the text, because I've been at client sites where they'll type the word med in my example here, and then it just doesn't, it takes everything away. And so they're like, why every time I type the word med, it just doesn't, nothing happens, it takes out my description. And it's because somewhere along the line, somebody had set up a text macro using that word in question, and it was blank. And so it ended up, every time they typed that word, it put in a blank fee entry because there was nothing there. So it's important to just kind of be mindful when we are creating these IDs and then our descriptions. So let's create one real quick, or we can use one too. We know med is one, so we'll just type in med and hit our space bar, and it will go ahead and type in medical records for me. You can see it's that easy. Or you can return. I believe it does the same thing. So that's there. But if you want to actually create some, you can right click and you can edit the text macro down here. And up here, it gives us the whole list of IDs. So again, we can do the drop down and you can see what's currently there. And I know we did an OH, and so we had done the / on it, and we had, oh, whoops, went too far, OH with the / because sometimes we might want the abbreviation for Ohio and we don't want it to auto expand, so we put the / and that is open and handle. So that would be a good way to set up a text macro. So I'm going to set one up, and so all you have to do is type in what you want that text macro, the new one, to be. So I'm going to do estate, so EST. I'm going to type down here, just tab in, and this could be, you know, a whole long description. Preparation of estate planning documents, including living will and healthcare power of attorney. I mean, you could make this quite long, so you don't have to type that. If that's something that you do all the time and that description is always the same. Same thing with business, preparation of corporation documents or whatever, in the minutes or whatever. You can create these macros that have that in there. So I'm just going to make mine simple, preparation of estate planning documents. Okay, and we'll go ahead and we will save that. Oops, and I set it up incorrectly. Did you see what I did there? I set that estate up there with no /. So I'm going to bring it back up, and you're going to find I can't change it. And this is intentional. I kind of did it intentional. I'm just going to go with that. But you're going to find that you're going to do that, or you're going to want to change the ones that are existing and put a / there. Maybe the ones that are in there are fine, but you want to add the /. Well, we can't just come in and change the ID here. What you need to do is copy the description that you have here so that you've got it on your clipboard, and then we're going to delete it. And it's not going to delete it anywhere it's being used or anything like that. It's just going to delete it off my list temporarily, and I'm going to say yes. And now I'm going to create one with the / the correct way, and then I'm going to paste my description back in, and now I've got it back, and I'm going to save it. So now that is the correct way that I want that. Now we'll go back into my fee window, and you'll see that if I come in here, I'm just going to take everything out. And we're going to type the EST / return or space, and it will put that in there for you. So very helpful, can be used in conjunction with the T code. It can be used independently. You can use multiple text macros throughout a fee entry to just help you so you don't have to type so much. Just think of them as like shorthand and typing for this. And then if you totally just wanted to turn it off, you don't want to use the text macros, this can be a user by user setting that you can do. So when I said you're turning it off globally, I meant for you personally, but in all of the different fields. You can't just say, I don't want to use them in fees, but I want to use them in cost, or I want to use them in a different memo box. If you turn it off for your user ID, you're turning it off across the board. And then you can turn it back on. But if you want to turn it off, again, just right click in any memo box, and this auto text expansion right here, you can see there's a check mark in front of it. We just click that check mark, it goes away, and now if I type estate / and hit my space bar, you see that it does not expand it. It just stays as estate /. So if you want that to be on or off permanently, you can do that, and then you can decide, you know, if you just wanted to temporarily turn it off, you could. If you wanted to leave it off, you could. And these text macros also push out to our Tabs3 Connect. So we'll talk more about that a little bit. This is kind of a practice master feature, but just so you know, they can be used with Tabs3 Connect when you do fee entries and costs. So
Awesome. Very good. Well, I love that you stole my line. I meant to do that so I could show you what not to do. I think that's cool. I am going to have my attorney contact you for your licensing fee for using that, though, because that's my line. I'm doing the pre-update statements report. And so I have it down here under recent actions, and that'll take me in there. As those of you who have seen this new interface know, you can simply just go up here and type pre, and you'll find it there as well. So you can just go ahead and run it from there. Go ahead and close down the fee verification and the text macro. So you've run your final bills. You've updated the ones that you've run. You're done for the month, and you want to run one last batch of updates just to make sure you got everything that you've updated, but you're not sure what's going to be updated. A lot of people don't know this report exists. This report will tell you what statements have been run in final form and are waiting to be updated, so that in case when you go to run update statements for the whole firm, if that's the way you do it, or you run it one time to pick up anything that you may have forgotten to update individually, that you're not going to update something by mistake. So if we run this report, we don't really need to specify anything. There aren't many options. The report date and the sort order are about it. If we run this report and display it to the screen, what we're going to find is that we've got some statements that have been printed in final form, are waiting to be updated, but they have not been updated yet. So it's a good report to run to tell you simply that these are the statements when I run a full update statements that will be updated. And so you can look at this, and if there's anything that wasn't supposed to be in here, now's your chance to go in and unbill. Now, of course, we know that if we go into the client manager, which I don't see up there, it probably is, but we'll just type client manager, that this is what I mean by update statements. So now you can run this from here, and it will just run for this particular matter, or you can go into update statements as a whole, and rather than running it for a single matter, you're going to run it for a range, which is usually everyone. Now that's what I mean. If you've printed final bills, we know that we can print a final bill, and then we can make changes and we can reprint it, and it isn't until we run update that it's final. And that's what this does. That's also what this would do if we were to run it just for this matter. And so the pre-update statements report is going to tell us before we run that which ones it's going to update. It's a great catch-all to make sure that, kind of a last-minute check to make sure that the statements that you're going to update are ones that you really intend to update. Because we all know that you may get a bill back and the attorney might say, oh, I know you printed that in final, but we're not going to send that out this month. And you simply need to unbill it. It's one of those other things that you can find in the client manager. And there are other ways to unbill, but one is to, well, this is for an already updated statement, but there's a way to unbill a final statement before it gets updated too. Now, we also do know that you can undo a final statement even after it's been updated, but we'd rather not do that because we don't want to update a statement that's been printed in error in final form and then discover 2 months later that error happened and maybe it got sent to the client, maybe it didn't get sent to the client, but it's updated and it thinks it's been sent to the client. So this is just your quick check to make sure that those statements, when you run that blanket update statements routine, those statements that get updated are the ones you intend to update. And that's really it. I always get the simple ones. So the pre-update statements report, we really just click on it and run it, and it's going to show you everything that it thinks it's going to update. And as long as you're sure that those are all the statements that you want to update and there's nothing extra in there, then you can go ahead and run update statements. And that's it. So that's it for this month. Next month, we are going to be talking about version 2020. You may have noticed the dashboards when we came in here. We are in version 2020. Dashboards, law pay, all sorts of things included in version 2020. We're going to cover them all next month. And just for those of you who are keeping track at home, you know that it wouldn't be a webinar if I didn't take you to our website and show you how our content's laid out. So if we either hover over or click on this word videos, we will get a list of video titles. I'm hovering now, but if I click on it, I get taken to a kind of a longer list, a more detailed list. We do have 6 different video titles. 4 of them are performed live. 3 of those are VUGs, virtual user group meetings. You're in the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting right now. We also have virtual user group meetings for Practice Master and World Docs. We also have another live event that we call the Coffee Pot Webinar. And that's where I invite somebody in each month from a company that has the product that adds value to either Tabs or Practice Master or one of our other core products like NetDocuments or World Docs or Cosmolites. And I get them to explain their product, talk about their pricing, answer questions, talk about what the product, how the product integrates with whatever our core product is, Tabs or Practice Master. Those are all live events. And then we also have 2 pre-recorded titles. Mary Jo records 3 e-bites every month, one on Tabs, one on Practice Master, one on World Docs. Those are little 2 or 3 minute videos where we take something really cool that we think we can explain pretty quickly, and we record a video about it, and we call it an e-bite. Again, 3 of those pushed out each month, 1 for each of those products. And then we have the longer format Paul and Mary Jo show, where either I or Mary Jo will take a topic that's broader or requires more explanation, and we'll spend 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes going into the very deep recesses of everything there is to know about that one particular thing that we're explaining, and we do record 1 of those each month. We will, as we said, be back in December with the 2020 for the Tabs3, the version 2020 information for the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting, and then we are taking a short break for the first quarter of 2020, January, February, and March 2020, and everything will be back in April when we will have restructured things a little bit. And we'll tell you more about that when we get there. So that's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the month, and we will see you in December. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks much.